In 1971, the world changed, and nobody told you. You feel it every time you walk into a grocery store. You feel it when you look at a house that cost 10 times what your parents paid for it, even to your salary hasn't moved in a decade. You've been told it's just inflation or supply chain or the market. Those are lies. Or, at best, they are the symptom of a much deeper surgery that was performed on your reality without anesthesia. Imagine you're playing a game of Monopoly. You've been playing for 3 hours. You've saved your cash, you've bought a few properties, and you're following the rule. Then, halfway through the game, the banker decided that the colorful paper in your hand isn't actually tied to the gold in the box anymore. In fact, the banker started printing new bill and handing them to his friends under the table. Suddenly, the boardwalk property that cost $400 now cost $4,000. You didn't play the game wrong. You just didn't realize the rule changed while you were taking your turn. This is why you can't afford a normal life. It's not your spending habit. It's not your coffee. It's the plumbing of the world. To understand why your paycheck feel like it's evaporating, we have to talk about what money actually is. For most of human history, money was a thing. A physical, heavy, shiny thing. If you wanted to spend more, you had to find more gold. It was a natural tether. It kept the ego of government in check because you can't manifest gold out of thin air. But gold is heavy. It's hard to move. So, we created recipe for gold. Paper. For a long time, that paper was a promise. You could walk into a bank, hand them a $20 bill, and they would hand you a specific amount of gold. The paper was just a ghost of the metal. Then came August 15, 1971. Richard Nixon sat at a desk, looked into a camera, and effectively told the world the promise was over. The dollar was no longer tied to gold. It was tied to nothing. Or rather, it was tied to the full faith and credit of the government. In that moment, money stopped being a thing and became a system. When money is a thing, it's scarce. When money is a system, it's infinite. And when something is infinite, the person closest to the printer wins, and the person furthest from the printer you lose. Let's look at the hidden mechanism. It's called the Cantillon effect. It sounds like an academic term, but it's actually a very simple, very brutal reality of how power works. When the central bank print new money which they do by typing number into a computer, that money doesn't enter the economy all at once. It doesn't fall from the sky like rain. It enters through the veins of the biggest banks and the largest corporation first. They get the new money while it still has full purchasing power. They use it to buy real assets, land, stock, apartment building, and business. By the time that money trickle down to your paycheck, prices have already adjusted upward to account for the new supply. You are getting the leftover. You are paying tomorrow's price with yesterday's wage. This is why the stock market can break record while people are struggling to buy eggs. The stock market is where the new money lives. Your grocery aisle is where the old money dies. The math is uncomfortable because it's a zero-sum game. For the system to grow, your purchasing power must shrink. It's not an accident of the economy, it is the fuel of the economy. If your money LTTS value forever, you wouldn't be desperate to work. You wouldn't be forced to gamble in the stock market just to keep your head above water. The normal life your parents had, the one where a single income bought a home and a car, was built on money that behaved differently. Today, you are running on a treadmill that is being sped up by someone you will never meet. We are told that the goal is growth. We need a 2% inflation target. We need the GDP to rise. But ask yourself, who is this growth for? If the price of your home double, you aren't richer in a functional sense. You still have one roof over your head. But the bank that hold your mortgage now has a much larger asset on its books. The government now collect more in property tax. The system is thriving. You are just more leveraged. We have moved from an economy of production to an economy of permission. In the whole world, you produced value, saved money, and bought your freedom. In the new world, you ask for permission via credit. You don't own your car, you lease it. You don't own your home, you rent it from the bank for 30 years. You don't even own your software or your music, you subscribe to them. This isn't a coincidence. It is the end state of a system that has decoupled currency from reality. When money is fake, that becomes the only thing that is real. So, where does this end? We are currently living in the largest economic experiment in human history. We are trying to see how much debt a civilization can carry before the wake snap the floorboard. The irony is that the people in charge can't stop. If they stop printing, the system collapses. If they keep printing, your life becomes more unaffordable. They are trapped between a heart attack and a slow poison. They have chosen the poison because it's quiet. You feel the poison every day. It's that low-level anxiety that no matter how hard you work, you're just standing still. It's the realization that middle class is becoming a historical term rather than a current reality. The world hasn't run out of resources. We haven't run out of houses or food or talent. We've simply broken the yardstick we use to measure them. If you can no longer afford a normal life, it's not because you aren't working hard enough. It's because the very concept of a normal life was a casualty of our you didn't know was being fogged. The question isn't when things will go back to normal. The question is, what happens when enough people realize that normal was traded away decades ago for a ghost that is finally starting to vanish? Think about that the next time you look at your bank balance. The numbers are going up, but the value is leaking out of the back door. And the door is wide open. What are you going to do when the ghost finally leaves the room?